Yak it to me. Voice of the web. You and me, producers of language, sitting on my armchair trying to provide my own definition on what language is, has led me to consider the human species to which language belongs to. And what is that human species I am referring to? Modern humans, known taxonomically as Homo sapiens, which according to the definition given by the online free encyclopedia Wikipedia are the unique species that have a highly developed brain, capable of abstract reasoning, language, introspection, and problem-solving. In addition to this, it is stated that self-awareness, rationality, and sapience are considered to be defining features of what constitutes a person. Based on this definition, I could partly close this open window by claiming that language exists because of the human being's existence. Therefore, having a developed brain, humans are always trying to understand the environment that surrounds them and how it affects their own selves. On doing this, human beings appeal to all their innate characteristics that maintain them, consciously or unconsciously, struggling for the best way to express their needs, feelings, thoughts, etc. during their short, temporal, and transitory life on Earth. Now that I am taking a linguistic course that is part of the EFL teaching major at Pontificia Bolivariana University, I do have the need, as sophisticated language learner and language teacher, to conceptualize that high-level feature that not only does characterize me as a human being, but also constitutes my professional life, that is, language. In my humble opinion, I believe that to give a personal definition of this human capacity, it is a must to turn to the specialists and to consider what they have said on this abstract concept. For instance, I strongly agree with the quote by Ferdinand de Saussure about language that states time changes all things. There is no reason why language should escape this universal law. Gudreds, ND. It is clear that if time changes all things, human beings are not exempted of transformation through spans of time. That is to say, transformations related to human ideas, beliefs, values, principles, social behaviors, and of course language, which is mankind creation. Thus, going back onto Saussure's idea, it is possible to assert that language fulfills with that property of arbitrariness, since it is, like men thought, in a continuous process of development. This is why even the simplest and most colloquial English of several hundred years ago sounds remarkably strange to us. Atchison, 2001, page 3. The assertion made by Professor Atchison is not only true for the English language, but for all languages. Every time that I make attempts to narrow the concept of language to come up with my own definition, I perceive it is more like an umbrella term which involves several different concepts and thoughts that make it hard to close the umbrella. However, the one who persists will succeed. Therefore, theories on how languages are learned are to be taken into account for the closing. It is common knowledge that there is no unique agreement on how languages are learned. That is, because there are several theories on how it is learned. The most known are the behaviorist, the innatist, and the interactionist. The first one refers to the acquisition of language through imitation and habit formation, which from my point of view lack of a lot of support. To this respect, Lightbound and Spada, 1993, claim that the behavioral explanation of language acquisition do not account for how children learn all aspects of their native language and for the normal language development of children, who rarely imitate and practice in the way other children do. The innatist theory asserts that children are biologically programmed for language. The linguist Noam Chomsky, defender of this position, as cited in Lightbound and Spada, 1993, claims that children are born with a special endowment known as universal grammar, UG, which consists of a set of principles which are common to all languages. I am in agreement over Chomsky's position, since it meets most of the properties of languages such as the existence of a grammar in which symbols can be manipulated to express clear and regular relationships between them, the organization of language in two main levels, one that consists of isolated phonemes, and the other that takes place only when these phonemes are combined, allowing a far greater number of messages to be delivered, and productivity. That property of the language system which enables native speakers to construct and understand an indefinitely large number of utterances, including utterances that they have never previously encountered. Lyons, 1977, page 78. The latter corresponds to the interaction between the uniquely features of the child and the environment that surrounds him. It is my belief that this position includes the child's innate endowment plus the modification of language in a form that it suits, as stated by Lightbound and Spada, the capability of the learner as a crucial element in the language acquisition process. It seems, then, that this view of language acquisition is the most complete since it requires both the linguistic and pragmatic knowledge. Due to this position, applied linguists emphasize on a fundamental dimension of language that was inadequately addressed in many of other approaches to language teaching: the functional and communicative potential of language. They saw the need to focus language instruction on communicative proficiency rather than on mere mastery of structures. Richards and Rogers, 1986. In order to complement the view mentioned above on the need and importance of communication for language acquisition, Himes, Lightbound, and Spada have stated that communicative competence is required. This is defined as learners' ability to efficiently express what they mean in their language and successfully achieve communications in real-life situations. Chen, 2005. On the other hand, Casper has suggested that competence, both linguistic and pragmatic, is the knowledge developed and acquired through exposure and use of the language. Chen, 2005. Consequently, without sufficient exposure needed to experience and acquire the language input and chances to use the new knowledge, communicative competence is not likely to be promoted. Nevertheless, it must be clear that not only have interactionists studied the speech addressed to children aiming at triggering language acquisition and learning, but they have considered comprehensible input, which according to Krashen's input hypothesis facilitates L2 acquisition, and have also included the importance of the learner's output in interaction. Swain, 1985, argued that comprehensible input is not sufficient for successful second language acquisition, SLA, but that comprehensible output is necessary too for the sake of having real communication. As an upshot of the quotes and works cited on what is speculated, discussed, considered, believed, conceived, etc. about language, I can possibly determine, after almost a week of being in, on, out, up, down, and under my armchair, that language is the result of the capacity human beings have to transform, consciously or unconsciously, their innate and complex system of communication. Now that I have fulfilled my personal need to conceptualize that unique and outstanding human feature, it is time to make an additional effort to link the definition of language to the teaching of a language. To this respect, I can say that most teachers who have studied the language to become language teachers have had intuitive beliefs regarding the best forms, techniques, strategies, methods, and approaches to language teaching and learning. In our profession, the core concept is language, which undoubtedly includes the producers of language, the teachers, and the learners, each part with specific roles within the process. The former trying to increase, for instance, students' language competence and proficiency, and the latter struggling to a low, mid, or high extent to express their mind. Being an English teacher, I am aware of the importance of understanding the national context, and my responsibility in the development of competitive citizens. However, being a socially committed teacher is not enough, as I need to have a very good command of the language with respect to the 4 language skills so that my students fulfill the demands of our society and of the global economy. This audio was brought to you by Yakitomi. Voice of the Web. YAKITOME.com